Well, here we are on this very first ever episode of the Sacred Kingdom podcast. Wow, what a dream it is to be here today. And I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tapping in and tuning in, whether you're live in this space or watching the replay. I just want to give my gratitude and thanks now for this adventure that we're about to embark upon together as a community. And a lot of you guys may know me already from the content that I go live with. I'm Marcus Crystallite, founder of Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. I'm also a member of the Sacred Kingdom community. And I am just like so full of abundance and love to be able to be here tonight to share space with other Sacred Kingdom community members and to be able to talk about, the really, really tough but really important conversations in the world that just really need to be talked about. And when I say talked about, I don't mean anything specific. I don't think it should be a certain way. I just think it needs to be talked about. The things that we're going to talk about throughout this series. And our first one, we're going to be exploring a very deep topic that is definitely going to dig in to our layers. And we're probably going to be feeling some emotions, feeling some energies. And the intention is to bring awareness and also, along with that awareness, help bring people empowerment and enlightenment about these different various topics. But this will be our first topic for episode 1.
Today's Sacred Kingdom topic: navigating abuse and manipulation, claiming our power, having boundaries, healing, and empowering.
So there you have it. Our first topic to kick off this wonderful community podcast is going to be about navigating abuse and manipulation. And this is something that I'm sure we all can relate to in some type of fashion and have seen, whether it's in our own personal life or in others' lives, our friends, family, community members. And we really wanted to talk about this conversation so we can help highlight and bring awareness to a lot of people out there that could be dealing with this kind of situation in their life, and that some of us have been through very heavily abusive relationships in our life, as well as other manipulative type of things. And if we really wanted to get into manipulation, I mean, we could just look at the world as a whole and look at what human beings have had to go through throughout history, including up to today. And whew, man, yeah, it's going to be a good one. So joining us on this first episode, we have our good sister Jen. Jen, good to see you over there. Uh-oh, I don't hear anything. Hmm. Did something happen to your mic? Hmm. All right. Well, until we get figured out with her situation, we will go ahead and continue. And I will pull us a collective card. So the deck that I will be pulling from for our collective will be the Light Language Oracle. Interesting. We have Spirit Guide Nathaniel. Let's see what the Light Language Oracle has for us when it comes to Spirit Guide Nathaniel. It's number 24 for everybody out there that likes numbers. So we have Starseed and Divine Masculine. Welcome back.
Hey, I am still having trouble with the audio on this laptop, so if you'll bear with me for a second, I'm going to see if I can get it to work better.
That's okay. You can hear me?
Phone, but it wasn't working. I can hear you on the laptop, but then I'm hearing it through speakers that need fixed. So let's
okay.
see. Let me check the audio settings.
Just give me like a thumbs up when you're ready and I'll unmute you. All right, so our card for the collective tonight is going to be Spirit Guide Nathaniel. And Nathaniel represents Starseed and Divine Masculine. So it says here, Nathaniel brings forward the energy of compassion. He is fluid in physical self and is highly intellectual. His thought patterns are always on display and allow him to be honest and upfront about his point of view, which is not to offend others, but to help them understand how he sees things. Nathaniel's message is that in your present situation, honesty is paramount. No matter the outcome, this is the card you must play. Put your thoughts into words and allow those around you to understand what is happening in your thought processes. He reminds you that not everyone is good at reading body language, or that perhaps your poker face is quite good. Either way, speaking your truth will help the situation find a way to resolve itself. Wow, I mean that's a very good compliment to go with this topic today. As you know, speaking your truth, being vulnerable, those are very key elements to navigating these type of situations in life. So that is Spirit Guide Nathaniel again for everybody. And it is from the Light Language Oracle. So I'll let you guys process that for a moment. Shoo-wee. All right. So let's go ahead and dive into our topic for today. And this topic, navigating abuse and manipulation. Hoo-wee. Wow. Well, I guess I'll talk a little bit about my journey and the kind of situations I've faced and overcome, and the ways that I was able to navigate them, and also be able to heal the parts of myself that was necessary through the experiences as well. And I mean, there's so many different forms of manipulation and abuse out there. And something that really comes up to me right now is the mental side of it. The physical side is talked about a lot, that's for sure. And it's kind of like the typical to talk about or to focus on. And the mental and emotional side of the way that these behaviors can either store in our system or also create very toxic like memories and mental attachments for us. And then not even to mention how these experiences can also cause what we call cognitive distortions in psychology. And for people out there, if you don't know what a cognitive distortion is basically when you have some type of experience or energies that are within your subconscious mind and still connected within your body. They continue to pattern and they continue to surface mentally into your conscious perspective. And what can happen is, if we don't address and clear these distortions that we can carry from abusive relationships, then we can find ourselves projecting and perceiving something in our present as something tied to our past, when what is actually happening in the present may actually not be anything like in the past. So that's a cognitive distortion. An example of that is, say you're in a relationship, and this goes either way, we're all human beings. You're in a relationship and, say you're doing everything you can to be loving, kind, just being yourself. But due to doing all that and the other person not being used to that and not healing the parts of their self from their previous relationships, it can trigger things within them. And then what can happen is, from those triggers then distorts the perception of the intentions of the other person. And this is it's a pretty tough thing. It's a very tough situation to be in, especially when you really love the other person and all you're trying to do is just love and be yourself. So I bring this up because we can all carry, and we can all have these kind of distortions happen to us unconsciously. And as we continue into this episode, we'll touch on and talk about a little bit of, how you can holistically and consciously repair and heal yourself from these kind of experiences. We'll be having another sister joining us, Heather Thomas of the Sacred Kingdom, and she'll have plenty to share when it comes to the healing modalities. So yeah, the reason why I wanted to bring that stuff up now is just to really bring awareness to that of what cognitive distortions are, and also remembering too that if ourself or our loved one is going through a cognitive distortion, to try to remember, to give that person grace, to give them love, and try to figure out why, try to go behind the roots with them and explore, why they may be going through that, or why they are the way they are from that experience. And when we kind of go into the compassionate questions and trying to understand, I feel like that can then help everyone feel a little bit more better, more comfortable with what they're having to go through. And it can be tough, especially if you're not prepared for something like that, and you don't really know what to say or do when someone's having a distortion. It's very tough, that's for sure. So I'll ask you, Jen, and so glad you're here with us. Thank you for joining and being a part of this first episode. I'll kind of hand it over to you if you want to share a little bit about yourself and anything that relates with what was just spoken on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it's interesting. Before I get into me, I wanted to tell you that I was actually just thinking about, I didn't realize the word was cognitive distortion, but I was just thinking about a situation whereby I think my past experiences certainly have influenced my perception of certain things, and it plays a part in discernment and understanding of in perception of reality, what's happening. So it's definitely something I want to look closely at myself, and where my perceptions are coming from and how I can see things more clearly. So I have, I am going through kind of a rebirth. I've had a very interesting and dramatic life. I think I'm in my 40s, and I had a lot of trauma growing up. And I also have some amazing memories, and I had a pretty typical life for the most part until 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, I got extremely ill. And that forced me to change everything in my life very suddenly. And it forced a lot of kind of reevaluation of how I've been living my life and what really mattered to me. And I had to change my diet to restore my physical and mental health. And that really helped me to see that, yes, trauma plays a part in certain experiences in life, but so does what we put in our bodies and what we surround ourselves with, how we live our lives. It's just such a holistic thing. And when I was younger, a big part of the trauma that I experienced was related to abuse. And it wasn't particularly, overt or intentional, but there was a lot of subtle abuse. I'll just bring up one example. Bullying, and what you were talking about in reference to emotional abuse. It's bullying in schools or any situation. Typically, it can be a little bit different between the male and female. Like, oftentimes male bullying might be more physical. It's not always that way, and oftentimes, at least in my experience growing up, female bullying is more emotional and it's more subtle. And having endured that, I've actually heard that type of abuse can result in PTSD that's very similar to what vets experience coming back from war. And I realize now that those experiences really conditioned me and programmed me to see the world and myself in a certain way. And it created a lot of self-doubt, self-recrimination. And I just didn't really believe in myself or love myself. And that's largely what happened, or what led to the health issues, I believe, that I had. And a lot of therapy and a lot of introspection and a lot of time has helped me to see what led to the person that I am today. I've had, let me see where to start. So because of the situation that I was in with my healing, I found myself in a very vulnerable state as I was healing. And I won't go into details, but I found myself in an abusive situation that in some ways mimicked the bullying I experienced as a kid. So there's a lot to say about how what we experience early in life affects what we experience later on.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I've got a very, my perspective has been impacted by many different but also similar experiences. And there seems to be an epidemic right now of people with similar stories of having been taken advantage of or treated really abusively. I'm meeting more and more people also really wanting to see the positives in those experiences and how they can help us to see our own shadows and grow from it. So it's been quite a journey so far. And I was very much impacted by this subject matter when I had a friend back in in 2013, I was extremely close with, and she was abused, and her life was taken, and it was suspected it might have been by someone who was abusing her. It's a cold case. And it after that happened, it actually really impacted me in many ways, a lot of people. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned from that is the importance of speaking up and feeling like one can express themselves regardless of what others might think or believe. And I think that her lack of maybe ability to talk about it, even with her closest friends, what she had gone through, obviously it would have contributed to a lack of awareness of her need of support. And anyway, after that, I realized I have a really strong passion to help people to avoid those types of things. And in my own experiences, especially recently, I went through a very abusive relationship, actually several as an adult, and they were subtle. And the most recent one impacted me a lot, and I've been healing from it. So I'm extremely passionate to help others to feel like they can put themselves first and love themselves, so that they might not be as prone to allowing certain behaviors that they might have been used to from childhood.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that stuff up and sharing.
Yeah, thank you for bringing awareness, attention to this topic.
You know, this is important stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's
certainly
very important stuff, and it's definitely tough conversations, but this is the stuff that's gonna help us really move forward as a collective and individuals. Especially if we have been moving forward as an individual, it allows the collective to be able to not only have wisdom and some tools, but also be able to know that they're not alone. And yes, you can overcome abuse and you can overcome the traumas in your life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different modalities, and there are a lot of different processes that you can go through to be able to clear, heal, and rebirth yourself. And I myself, and also Heather, who's going to be joining us, you know, we're multifaceted shamanic holistic practitioners, and these practices have been everything for me, especially as someone that used to be very overgiving with my love to people. You know, I faced a lot of challenges and experiences where, and I used to blame a lot. I used to kind of blame that I was being used, or that I was being taken advantage of. But what I had to ultimately realize, and this is kind of like a key note here for everybody out here, is finding where I'm accountable. Where am I responsible? And what I often find is that, number one, I could have possibly been acting out of impulse or desire in the first place to even be in the connection with that individual, not out of actually pureness and love, but maybe from an unconscious, impulsive state. Number two is I could have been given the red flags very clear, but I ignored them because I thought the potential was the reality of who they were in the present. So as I say, you don't want to fall in love in potential now, because when you fall in love in potential, you start masking over the present with that future potential. And this is how strong our minds are, guys. Like, I'm sure at some point, or maybe in other episodes, we'll be diving deep into like, hermetics and universal laws and tie it in with all these topics. But, the law of mentalism, the first law of the Hermetic principles in the Kabbalion, talks about how the all is mental. So like the perception, the reality that we are experiencing is based off of our mental frequency. And that mental frequency is super important when it comes to how you're using it, where you're directing it, what you're opening it up to, and also if you're continuing the same programs or reprogramming yourself. There's so many things that come in when it comes to that. And I'll take a moment. All the things are just like flowing. It feels like there's a whole entire like treasure chest of things that just opened up inside me. Wow.
Yeah, I've been feeling that.
Accountability. Yeah. So one of the biggest things for me when it came to not only healing, but also being able to stop patterns is from just, digging my teeth in and just owning it and just being accountable for the position I've put myself in. And, I will admit it. There's been so many times in my life where I did ignore the red flags because of potential, because I wanted to be the one to guide that person to their best and all these things. And I just ended up really getting lessons from that for sure. And I'm grateful for those lessons now because, it's made me so much more wiser and much stronger with my self-empowerment. But along with the accountability, it's also been, inserting practices and routines in different ways to recalibrate my being. So it's like, I don't know if there would really be steps or stages. Maybe we can even come up with our own. Like, here's a 5-step program of, healing yourself from abuse or something. That would be pretty amazing, actually. But I feel like one step. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I met someone today who has one.
Oh, wow.
She's actually got a, well, it's specifically for survivors of narcissistic abuse.
Oh, yeah, yep. At the expo.
She's got yeah, like a class, like one of those online classes. So you can.
Yeah.
So I haven't investigated. I just heard about it. It's neat.
That was today. Yeah, everybody, man. We were in Columbus, Ohio. We're local in Ohio, and we went out to a couple events today, actually, in Columbus. And it really felt like the spring opening energy. It was just like so beautiful. But we went to the Columbus Gift of Light Expo. So that's like a holistic health expo, new age type of stuff. Super beautiful. Like, we met this guy. He was one of the most amazing channels and people that connects with the Ascended Masters. He was super cool, and then a lot of other beautiful souls there as well. But yeah, it's an interesting time right now. It feels like, I don't really like to call it the split because I don't really see things as a split, but it's becoming very transparent to me that, as they say, the water separates from the thickness. Like, you can really tell like what's rising to the top of the surface and what's kind of sinking in density. And This can segue us into such great conversation for this world right now, because there's like choices that we have, and these choices are crucial on the timelines we want to be on individually, because we got to remember too that we have the individual self and the collective self, and the timeline that you're on individually isn't going to be always the timeline that the whole entire collective is on. So, with all this talk that we have been talking about so far, we see a lot of this happening in the world right now. These type of behaviors, abusive, manipulative, controlling behaviors. And it is gotten to a point where I know for my own self, I've had to just really draw lines and just either, take the spaces that I need from individuals that want to constantly project or constantly deny whatever it is that you may share because of the type of person that you may like or whoever it is that you support. And it's so wild right now to see so many find it okay to now do these behaviors onto others, all because they support one individual in this world. Like, how does it make it okay now to do all this abuse and manipulation upon your fellow people because you don't like the person that they support? I mean, goodness gracious. And just on time. Look who it is. Uh-oh.
There you are.
Hello. You caught me closing my closet door. What do you hide in the closet?
Oh, snap.
Hey,
She's coming out of the closet, guys.
Oh, I know, right? Actually, the only thing that's in there is a bunch of kids stuff for this summer for our event in the park. So
Nice.
Yeah.
You want to share about that?
Oh, about the kids event in the park? Yes. So this summer, once a month, we're going to be hosting. Well, I have two things going on. I'm going to be doing a Reiki sound bath share the second Saturday of each month at Dewey's Park here in Dayton, and in Cincinnati for the Cincinnati crew. I'm working with my girlfriend Aurora Sky, and we are going to be hosting once a month events for both parents and kids, where we're going to be offering just fun events, crafts, music, healing space for the parents, and if the kids want to join in, teach the kids how to meditate. A lot of stuff going on, so super excited.
Yes, that sounds amazing. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did chime in on your top three.
Ooh, the crowd's still cheering for you, Heather.
And I would like to validate each and every one of those just from my own personal experience. Because I've been guilty of, violating all three because of my own programming. And so once it's my turn to share, then I will express a little bit more. But I did chime in on my way home, and the top three are very valuable to each and every one because being accountable, seeing the red flags, and taking ownership. Those processes are difficult, but they're absolutely necessary to get to the root of why this program exists in the first place. So kudos. Thank you for sharing that earlier.
Absolutely. You can keep on flowing if you would like.
Yeah. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Heather Lynn. I'm the owner of Heart Alchemy Wellness. Crystal Light and we collaborate on a lot of events. And I wanted to share my personal story with everyone. And to be quite honest, some of the events are fairly recent. And initially, when I started the healing journey, well, let me back up. So I was with a gentleman for 7 years. We've known each other for 35 years and started off as friendship, and then we got into a relationship. And the beautiful thing is there were lessons, and I was able to see the value in the lessons now, today, much later. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. So pretty much, we had a pattern of, one, I wasn't fully committed because I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Okay, because I was being love bombed. Every time that I would get really close, I would get love bombed. And this pattern continued. So, but once I realized that I was being love bombed, then I had to learn new skills, because not only was I being love bombed, but then I started being violated and actually purposely triggered to see exactly how I would react. So it actually became an orchestrated event. So what do I mean by that? Anytime that we would get into an argument and he would say whatever he needed to say, all the nasty stuff. And then when it was my turn to speak, I would have the camera in my face, and it was there to suppress what I was going to say, to hold everything in, because I didn't want these videos out there. So I'm throwing this out there, owning it, because some of these videos were not my highest self. And so with that said, I understood that there was manipulation and there was love bombing, but I also knew that there was something bigger to this story. So that led me to start doing QHHT, right? Because I was like, what is this connection, man? Like, I can't cut it. I was like, I've done the rituals, right? So at first it started with getting my shamanic certification and learning how to cut ties and navigating the void and being able to go to the web and, learning that I had to go to the root of the problem. Well, the root of the problem was not in this lifetime. It's dimmed here, but this was just a continuation of a story that began long ago. Not going to go into that, but this is how energy works. And I teach emotions. So anyway, QHHT taught me to see through the void. It taught me one of my modalities, which was QHHT, and how to teach people how to read their emotions, right? Because I had to read my own. I didn't trust anyone because of my programming when I was younger. Went to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whatever you want to call it. Not for sure which is which. Don't. So anyway, they violated my trust. They told my mom everything that I said. I felt violated because I was old enough to keep that in confidence. So from that moment on, it was really hard for me to open up to people. So during this journey, QHHT allowed me to start putting some of the pieces together, and I would see these similarities in this lifetime. And fast forward to this most recent past year, okay, because we did this back and forth. I love you. You go away for 6 weeks and come back. We did this. I'll move in with him. I would move out. Cost me a ton of money every time. Like this most recent time was like 10 grand I spent in like 2 months moving. That was my lesson though. Okay. There's always a pearl, and there's always a beautiful diamond or a lesson in everything. But anyway, September, we were broken up for 6 months. September, he came back, and I really thought they had done the work. Like, he came back in that form that's like, yes, I'm open and I'm vulnerable. Okay, but since I've done so much shadow work, and my 5-1 profile was literally here to magnify everyone's stuff, and when you do the work, you magnify that back to other people that haven't done the work. And then they either project it back, or it just causes strife or conflict because you're no longer in alignment, right? Because one's healing and one's staying in the same. One's not growing. And anyway, so I went back, and it was great until I literally, to the T, the 2 days after I moved out, he told me that he was emotionally cheating, and that he had been talking to this girl at the bar, and it was his friend or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I was like, I kind of got that vibe, because I'm learning that I knew all of these things all along, but my programming wouldn't allow me to see it. And I'm going to get to the programming, because there is an allowance portion. Okay, but you got to get to the nuts and bolts of what happened first. So I moved in. 2 days after I move out, he's like, hey, gives me this bomb plus a whole bunch of list of other stuff. And I'm like, okay, we can work through it. What do I do? I just spent $5,000 to get out of my lease. This was, middle of October. Well, after that, the harder I tried, the worse it got. And I'm in a transit where my Saturn was conjunct my moon. And what that was saying is that I need to start fixing things, okay? Which taught me astrology. Why do I know so much about astrology? Because I had to learn it in order to figure this case out. With my 5-1, I'm like the investigator, like, okay. But everything works together, though, is what I've found. Like, the universe works in a mysterious way, and all of these modalities and all of this energy and the astrology are essentially giving us the same thing, but in a different flavor. Just depends on how you process the knowledge. So anyway, with that said, is that I'm not supposed to overgive. Well, I had that gut feeling. This is where accountability comes into play. So my sacral chakra started going crazy, right? I was like, And then I dropped a crystal on my left foot, which is my feminine, right there, which was meaning I'm not moving in the right direction, right? And it was cutting to the bone, like, and I was getting all of these messages from my body, but, my little desire, my vision of what I wanted. See, this is why I love when you said all three, because I want to get to all three of them. Okay, so when my desire didn't match my reality, I was like, damn, what do I do? Because I'm 5D, 5G deep. I just moved. Now I know all these different things, and I'm not a victim, but I'm going to go truth and transparency. Literally treated me like a dog every night, said that my emotions made him feel sick, and that pretty much that I was ugly because I needed affection. And all I was saying is, hey, we need intimacy. I see what's going on, and if there's no intimacy, this goes back to me shining that light, and then he's projecting all the things that he can't be accountable for himself. He's saying all these things to the point that he even said that he was going to have the girl at the bar, I'm going to cuss here, she's going to beat my ass. And then you know what I said? Bring it. I was like, do you see my light sword? I was like, fucking bring it. I was like, because I'm not afraid. Not afraid. And I literally said that. I was like, and I stood my stand. And I mean, honestly, I could feel the energy in the room shake, because my energy is, since I am learning to work with energy and cultivate my own essence and stuff, when I command something and you violate me and take my weakness or my kindness for weakness, you know, my lioness was like, don't do that. Don't disrespect me. You know, I understand we're going through a lot, but this has gotten out of control to the point where we tried to call the cops on me, try to, you know, hid my stuff. You know, one day I was doing this because I would have to close my eyes because with my Pisces moon, I absorb the room. I absorb all the energy. So I had to learn as a technique to close off my sight, because as soon as I start seeing that smirk in your, you know, on that mouth, or those just, you know, the linguistic behavior, right? Because everything speaks a language and a vibration, right? And I'm picking up on all these cues. So I have to shut off some of my senses so that I can start channeling my own energy. And anyone that's a Virgo, you know that when, you know, once you get to that point, you know, we'll just cut you off, pick you up, and put you in this energetic boundary. And then you're only going to see us from afar, because we have to separate our energy because we are so overgiving. You know what I mean? And a lot of people take my giving, you know, people were taking advantage of it, but this was a pattern. Okay. So how did I get there? Right. And then I did move again. And that was another $3,500 plus another $1,500 with all, you know, appliances, blah, blah, blah. So it was like 10 grand in like 2 months, plus all my other expenses. Plus I was paying him rent. So I was paying I paid a year's worth of rent and still have to pay rent. But it was divinely guided, and I was taken care of. And I told myself that I would fix this hurdle, not fix it. I would surrender and allow the process to take place, meaning I would fix myself, not the situation. I would heal myself. Yeah. We're not going to put any more energy into that. So, and Virgos were hermits. So, and anytime a Virgo goes in, that's pretty fierce because we're so overgiving and we're so open. But I had to shut everything down. Like, I had to go in. There were 2 days because I was triggered so bad by the other girl, right? And I'll tell you why. Because every man in my life has used other women against me. And this is why. This is where past life regressions comes into play, and this is where accountability comes into play. It is because I went back to the root. So I'm going to go way back to the root of where all this began. So in the initial lifetime, I was someone of superiority, and I was a man. And during that time, men had multiple women or partners, right? Because that was their job. They had to spread their seeds so that the heirs would continue to come in, right? That's just how it works. And she was my secret lover, or my forbidden lover, right? Because I was married. In the eyes of the church. And I was super young too. I was like 14, 15 years old, you know, when I go back, because back then you had to have kids young. And long story short, she had a miscarriage because they were trying to take over the kingdom by having this illegitimate child and come in and take it over later on. And it sounds kind of like a lot of energy of what's going on. But again, this is why this is relevant, because there's a lot of this energy that's being creeped up right now that we're here to heal, right? Because this goes back in our lineage too. So anyway, had a miscarriage, and then something came about to where they came in and overtook my kingdom, and I had to watch her die. And I was so angry at her, and I did not forgive her. Did not forgive her that lifetime. So for this entire life, I was angry, and I escaped my responsibilities. I scapegoated it, right? So, and it wasn't I scapegoated, it was just I was so hurt and devastated that I didn't know how to come back from such a severe thing. And I didn't live much longer. You didn't live that long back then. With that kind of hostility, you don't live that long. But with that emotional echo print, okay, and I'm just gonna go over a little science here, okay? So emotions store in our myofascial tissue, okay? Our body is made of what, 75-80% water, and so our emotions store in our water, and they create emotional echo prints. And the emotional echo print is basically the RNA taking a snapshot of this emotion, and then it starts duplicating it. Okay, so it's just taking picture after picture, just plotting the same emotion everywhere until it starts sequencing into the DNA. And this is how this knowledge, this insight, and this trauma is transferred from mother to, son, daughter, because this energy is stored in the eggs. And this energy can be stored for up to like 8 lineages. Okay. So with that said, that's why I'm able to go back so far, is because I'm a timekeeper. I'm a record keeper. And with me being able to travel the Akash, what that's doing is that's allowing me to heal facets of myself. So I took that energy, that guilt, that shame, and that anger, and I continue to carry it over. The next lifetime, he was my brother. He was jealous. He shot me in the leg. I have a birthmark today. In fact, I'll take a picture of it and show you guys. It's basically exactly on my left leg. The next lifetime, he was my son, and he watched me get choked out and murdered by my ex-boyfriend this lifetime, Scott. And what happened that lifetime is Scott continued to abuse him. Okay, hurt people. So one thing we have to realize, and people don't mean to hurt people. It's just stored in our DNA, and these emotional echo prints, because all of a sudden the RNA is just duplicating this pattern, and it keeps looping on and passed along in the DNA. And it's our conscious mind hides it so well through the veil, right? Because we signed up to forget, the veil of forgetfulness. That's my belief. I'm not pushing my belief on anyone else, but I believe that we, have a veil of consciousness. And so, long story short, the next lifetime, I finally figured out the last link. And pretty much it was because I had forgiven all the other lifetimes, right? And I'm like, okay, we're getting ready to do this. We're going to finally be able to be together. And then I kept getting these cries when we were sleeping together. Because again, when you're sharing secret energy, and with being a shaman, when we're sharing this energy, and I hear sacred sounds and I work in the void, this is the practice that I do. I would hear weeping, and I was really triggered. So all the things that were going on, like with us going back and forth and us calling the cops on each other and just all the threats and the potential, like literally the last night that I was there, I asked him, am I safe? Because I knew that every lifetime that he had killed me. I mean, and it was a legitimate question. Are you going to hurt me? Are you going to hurt me? And he was like, no. He was like, I love you. And he was like, I'm sorry we're going through this. And so we held it out, and we really tried. So the last lifetime, again, I was deceived, and I had to marry him because, my family, my lineage and stuff like that, but he got to take all of my inheritance. But I was the face of the family, and I would have to be masquerade during the day, but at night he would keep me as a prisoner. And I had an affair. Again, it goes back to this unrequited love. I didn't love him, and then I had this lover because he was the one that was sleeping with everyone. And I was like, well, hey, if you're having your cake, I'm going to eat it too. Two wrongs don't make a right, guys. It just doesn't work like that. But it was also the time to where I couldn't just, we didn't have divorce back then. And let's be honest, as a female, my rights were very limited because these were lifetimes ago. This was actually in 1819. So just giving you, this was our last lifetime, was 1819. So anyway, he would keep me in this box at night. So I got out of this box and he caught me, and then he finally put me on trial in front of everyone for treason. And I was hung. And that is the pattern of why my ex-husband choked me out, which is why we got a divorce. Same reason why Scott choked me out, and that's why I left him. And this is the same trajectory that Joshua and I were going down. But this lifetime, he did hold compassion. Like he kept, even though he repeated the same patterns, the same behaviors, but he did not go to the point this lifetime to where he hurt me. And lack of better words, I think that's growth for him. But I did leave him, and he still tries to come back energetically. But with this last lifetime, there's just no way, because I have to love myself. And this lifetime, how did all this stuff carry in this lifetime, right? So with my mom, I chose a family that I could heal all of these guilt, shame, and anger, resentments of being a woman. So I chose my family that I have right now. And I chose, my dad and I came back, and that's a whole nother story. But it carries over from the last story where Josh killed me. So, and y'all can get that in my book, because I am writing a book. There's just so much. But I mean, this stuff goes deep. So when I was born with an ailment, and I had to go back to heal my mother wound. All right. So I had to go back in meditation and through the Akashic record. And I had to go back and find out how my mother felt. Why do I feel this way? Because what we don't recognize is that we inherit our mother's rest and breath pattern. I'll repeat that again. We inherit our mother's rest and breath pattern. So, however your mother was energetically during in vitro, you're going to mimic the same patterns. Why? Because the RNA duplicates into the DNA, and it's that emotional echo print. See, it all goes back down the chain.
Wow.
So anyway, my mother couldn't stand on her own 2 feet because I was kid number 5. This is how all this stuff comes back into our astrology chart. Okay, and we'll get to that on the tail end. But anyway, so my mom couldn't stand on her own 2 feet because she had 5 kids. So I took on her ailment, and I manifested my toes being back to my shin. So my feet were like this, right? Could not stand on my own 2 feet because why? My Pisces moon. I chose to be a product of my environment so that I can grow spiritually. This is some of the things that we do on our spiritual contract. And the reason why we have the veil of forgetfulness is because there's no way that we would do it without it. Because on the other side, it looks so easy. And we're like, yeah, I'm going to go back with you. And that's the thing about Josh and I. We love each other on the other side of the veil. We chose each other to awaken each other. This is where accountability comes into play. And these are hard lessons. Because when love's involved, desire, forgetting the red flags, needing to be loved. So my dad cheated on my mom anyway, but that's why so this is where all this cheating comes into play, and these memories, these echo prints. So this is the energy
I got something for you, Heather.
Go ahead.
There you go. This will be perfect for you. This is a great compliment to go with your talking.
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, and that is what I didn't recognize.
Welcome, Andy.
Is that we were sharing, hello,
Hi.
that we were sharing this information. Well, anyway, at the very end, the cries were myself, by the way. I didn't know if I told everyone that, but the cries were myself. That was myself in this lifetime where I was in this box and I was weeping and I was hearing my own emotional echoes through the veil and my dreams. Because I was getting premonitions in August. I had a premonition that the world was ending, like literally. And in the dream, I would go to the ground and I was like, I'm an infinite being. I'm just going to come back. I was like, I'm love, I'm light. And then I would kick out of the dream, but it kept repeating. Well, now what I was being guided is to surrender. You know, that I had to go through this process. Like I had to go to the very edge. You know what I mean? Like to the very last minute. Because had I left sooner, like my pattern of keep leaving and stuff like that, I wouldn't have gotten the knowledge. So sometimes we have to, as a light warrior, we kind of have to stand up to the fear. And at the end, I took my power back. When I would close my eyes, that would irritate him and make him shapeshift. So, it was just lovely. Now, have I had the conversation with him about these lifetimes? And the answer is I've tried, and he really doesn't want to hear it. And I have to honor that. But I know on the other side of the veil, we signed up for this and that we love each other and that it's all in love and it's all in light. And that we chose these lessons to be a part of Mother Gaia's awakening. And this is our contribution by choosing love. Him not killing me was a contribution, man, because we both survived. I mean, for real, that's a win. You know, these are soul lessons. And I make light of it, and I know and I have to, because if I had PTSD from going in and out. I've done a lot of shadow work. And let me say something else too, and I love your picture. So when you have multiple sexual partners, okay, because so when we would go in and out, you know, there were times where I would share other energy, and then like when I would get comfortable and would like want to start cultivating, you know, it would get serious, like he would always come back in. So it was just him and I sharing the energy, but the trigger was, you know, this theme of cheating. So the fact that we were in and out all the time, it always made me question, were there other people? And with them love bombing and not wanting to commit, these are all signs of someone that wants to keep you open and keep you, you know, in a manipulative relationship. You know, all the signs were there. But it was a part of my journey. So I have to honor it. And if I didn't go through each layer of this, I wouldn't be who I am. You know, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't understand any of it, you know, and I still might be trapped in it, you know, trapped in my own nonsense, because my conscious mind is like, oh, nope, you're not going to heal that. And that's what we're seeing in the collective right now, is all of these energies that we've shared over lifetimes with people. It has to be healed now. So, and that's not easy. And that's what every one of us is being asked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so also on my human design, anyone that has the sacral chakra closed, they are the ones that are actually helping the collective right now transmute all of the energy through our closed sacral channel. So I'm meant to be who I am. I was meant to go into these relationships to shine light on not only the disruption in my lineage, but also in theirs. But here's the kicker though. right? So this is when stuff gets really bad. So what happens when you don't listen? All right. So I want to give you guys a case of when we don't listen to our guides.
Boy.
Because my ex-boyfriend, woo, after we got, after we split up, he wound up going into kidney, liver, and heart failure. So I'm the last stop. So I have the 59 gene key, which is transmutation twice. So I'm a transmuter. So I'm here to shine light on lineage trauma, period, end of story. And we're here to work through this. And if you choose not to work with it with me, then consciously you are choosing not to contribute what you and I signed up here to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he rejected his call. And his body started to back up because he did not release the emotions and the attachments and the negativity. But this is why. When you don't understand that you have it or how to unpack it or that it goes way back, your body just becomes, his body became septic because his mental capacity became septic. So, and it's really sad, but your emotions really do create disease, and your mental state is really vital. It's very important, because a healthy mind is creating positivity, love, light. We're creating through unconditional love. So.
Yes. Gosh, Heather, you just, wow. Holy smokes, guys. Jeez, hold on. Heather. Ooh. Golly.
Good one.
Man.
So, and this is also a forewarning. I also cannot have any further. I've been guided. I'm not allowed having any relationship with anyone unless we share spiritual sacred energy, because of the depth and the capacity that my soul can read emotions. Like if I'm absorbing your stuff and I'm hearing shit, and I've got to go through, figure out who you are in my past life. We're not doing that lesson no more. Red flag, you got to go. But I've also been guided that I've done my contribution of my inward work, and that I'm here to share and to teach others. So I'm very excited to hear that, because that shit was a 15-year journey. 15 years to go through this whole process of unpacking. Oh, and then I found out why I was holding the attachment. So when I was younger, my dad, I was in the bathtub and I thought he had a heart attack because him and my mom were having emotions. And I made a pact with myself that I would always take care of the men in my life. And one of the full moons, when he triggered that, I had to go in and face that wound. And had he not told me that and threatened that he was seeing someone else, and my jealousy was just like, la, 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 I would not have found that niblet, which basically allowed me to disconnect completely, because that was the last piece of the pie besides that last lifetime. But truly blessed that all these astrological transits, though, are giving me knowledge every single transit. Like full moon, new moon, I'm constantly getting new downloads of how to help others with this. So, and that's all I got for you guys.
And me and Heather were looking at the astrology for April yesterday. That's, man, oh man. I'm telling you guys, you gotta get ready for April.
Oh, maybe it's going to even be. Let's just be honest. It's not going to get better until August, but it's going to get better. I mean,
don't say that.
Well, let's be honest. I'm a realist. I'm not going to lie. Okay, you guys can't have me both ways. It's just the way it is. I'm going to be honest. This is what is needed. And it's not us. The ones that are doing the work, we're going to feel it, but we're going to see it more so in the collective. Just like today, I saw this kid hanging out his window like, "Ah!" I was like, dude, let me get out of their way before they start shooting and shit. I was like, let me just, I was just praying to my guys, just let me get out of the way. Start praying for both of them. I'm like, like, the energy is intense. But what it's doing, though, is it's shining light on all the behaviors that are not in alignment. And these behaviors can't go. And we also need to let our fellow brothers and sisters know that if we choose not to straighten up, we don't get to come back. We got to go. We get stuck in the 3D. You don't get to go to the 5D, and Earth is going to be a 5D planet, so you don't get to come back here. You got to go somewhere else, guys. So better do your shadow work.
So guys, if you look here, I have it on the screen. April 16th, Mercury enters Aries at 0 degrees. 2 days later, Mars enters Leo at 0 degrees. 1 day later, the Sun enters Taurus, and then Mars in Leo trine Neptune and Aries at 0 degrees.
And Uranus is in there too. Uranus is in there too, though, because you got Mars and Uranus already.
Yeah.
Or Taurus and Uranus.
We close out the month with the 27th, with the new moon in Taurus, but also Mars and Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And then to close out both on the 30th, the last day, Venus enters Aries at 0 degrees. Pluto in Aquarius, square Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio at 0 degrees. Oh boy.
That'll be fun.
Oh, this is the beginning. This is the beginning, guys.
For me.
Wow. For this.
All I know is I'm gonna be in a bunker. I'm gonna be in a bunker on the 30th. I'm not gonna be in public.
I have a retreat that weekend, and I'm just going to be on my best behavior, just like understanding. I'm just going to have my popcorn in hand, just like, all right. But it should be beautiful energy, though. So I am going to I'm going to go review the astrology, and I'm going to work with my guides so that we can work with some of the planets in a positive light, so that we can bring a positive spin to it. So that's what I'm trusting is going to happen, but who knows what's going to happen with the people that come, though. You know what I mean? It's like it's fair game. I have boundaries now, though. I'll pull out my light sword and start stomping it down. Like, I would. I totally would. Oh, well, Sam was like, she told me, she's like,
You got to.
my guy said that your guide said that you're a gangster. I was like, you know what? It's funny. I was like, I've always channeled that my guides are gangster. I was like, I have no idea why. I was like, but I mean, I know because they're powerful. We are all powerful beings. Yes,
Like,
it was funny. Well, that's when I first met Sam, and that's when I was like, all right. And then she starts sending me, you know how she did our astrology thing? She just starts, I'm like, Sam, we're in class. So I love her to pieces, but she is, and she's.
Hopefully she comes out to Hawking Hills too.
Yeah, I'm sure she will, and I'm sure we'll be collaborating with her more. So I'm excited. But I'm excited for this shift, but it's going to be excessive, and we have to keep an open mind and space. And if that means shutting your own energy off during this transit, honor it, because that's the best thing that you can do right now is worry about your own mental space. You know, you have that is a contribution. You know what I mean? So always just make sure and, putting out your highest vibe. But it's going to be intense. And then the next transit is the Leo, 0 degrees. So at any time that it's a Leo, 0 degrees and the shift, like the change in planets. So it's been in all of the planets are shifting this year into new planets too. So we're in energy we've never experienced before at this
I believe it.
time. So
Yeah.
Yep. History in the making is what I like to say. It be the positive spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here for.
Oh. All right.
How are you, Mandy?
I'm good. I'm just taking in everything right now.
Not frozen.
Oh man, if you were listening to me, it was probably a lot to digest because I go pretty deep. This is why, because one of the patterns that I had was protection. And I would hide my light because remember the first lifetime they wanted to take my power. That's my witch wound, right? If I were to say, that's my wound. And so I hid my light. And so being vulnerable and open is something completely different. But once I got over the fear, I'm like, might as well just tell it all. I mean, it started with my family though, because my family, I'm come from a family of healers. My nurse, my mom, my aunt, my sister, they all are nurses, my niece. So it's in the family. But of course, I have to be the change. I'm like,
right.
Let me read your emotions. And I read my stepdad, and my mom just kind of looked at me and was like, okay, but it was my first time saying, hey, disease is more than the medication you're feeding them. And it can be healed on various levels. If you understand their root, or at least the chakras that are out of alignment, and you work with that energy, you have greater odds of, let's be honest, it's best if we do maintenance versus trying to actually take ourselves out of the fight or flight. Because guess what? When we find out we have a disease, we're in fight or flight, right? That's our initial response. And you're not in a healing capacity at that point, especially if you're giving your power away to, the doctors waiting on their news and stuff like that. It's really traumatizing too on the mental state, because it really doesn't allow you to go into the parasympathetic, which that's where you actually heal yourself. You have to be in your rest and breath.
Right.
So
yeah, a lot of people don't want to go there either, So
well, I think a lot of it is what I've come to realize is that part of the programming is we can't slow down because we're in a scarcity mindset.
absolutely, that's the problem. One of them.
Yep. And that was one thing I realized, because I worked in corporate, and I at the end I was like, I can't keep doing this,
Right.
because it's taking my life source. And I'm like, I can my guides, and I knew it was coming. I kept getting intuitive hits that it was coming to an end, and I'm like, all right, it is what it is. I'm in my Virgo's in my South Node, so, and it's eclipse season. Anything in the past that doesn't align with me now is gone. But any of my gifts that I've mastered are also being cultivated now too. So it's kind of awesome, the duality of, the light and the dark, and how, the blessings of the seasons and all this energy and, shifts is really making a difference.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Wow. So I got an activity for us.
Okay.
And I think it'd be really awesome for the collective. And this activity is a whiteboard activity. And I was thinking we could maybe together as a community here, each share different mental boundaries and healing modalities, and then emotional modalities and boundaries, and then physical modalities and boundaries. And we can just make a nice list on a whiteboard on the screen share for the collective to be able to see visually. as well as listen to us as we talk about it. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, let's
We can
do
do
it.
that.
Oh, awesome. I'll get a whiteboard up for us.
Yeah, and hang on 1 second. I'm going to go grab my charger real quick so my phone don't die.
So Mandy, is there anything that you want to share regarding anything along the lines that we've talked about?
Navigating abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot. It's like my whole history. So I'll just I'll narrow my whole life down to like 2 sentences here. If you have to, like, man, once you realize that you need to heal, not only do you realize that you've developed codependency, but you really need to, you know, when someone gets the therapy in, you need to learn to trust your instincts as well. I think that's number one. You need to relearn how to trust your instincts and intuition, because that's actually disconnected once you reach PTSD.
I can validate for that because actually I did a test. It takes about 6 weeks doing with shadow work.
Mm.
And that's why you see all the somatic releases for 30 days. It's about, you know,
Mm-hmm.
minimum 30 days, it's about 6 weeks. So it's not an easy process either.
It's not. It's the whole reason why I went into coaching.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Honestly, yep. Because I was forced there a couple of times, but I was there to teach people about the emotional aspect of it. But it also taught me different modalities and how to move the energy.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
and it also taught me how sound frequency is vital. Like you can do all the modalities, but you really need I call it your tune-up, or, you know, your battery. You're charging your battery. Because that really realigns everything. Because all the modalities, they mix it all up.
They do.
Yeah, yeah. And I did also want to make a statement too. You had your emotional chart up. And if you look at the risks, that is where you see past life trauma. And if you see, you know, we see the statistics today where over 55, like I'm not going to give the exact statistic, but men over 55 are in the highest category of suicide. And also our young adults under the age of 18 has increased significantly. And I'm a firm believer that has a lot to do with the veil thinning for the younger folks. And the older generation, it's just refusing to let go of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, we got Sarah in the house.
hey.
Nice.
We got the Brady Bunch.
Hello, happy Saturday, everyone.
But yeah, so
Okay.
that's where that energy stores. And I also want to make a note as well. As a QHHT practitioner and through my sessions, it has been guided through or channeled. Well, you know, when I go through, they're speaking, and their higher self is speaking. So if they have committed suicide, they have to repeat that lifetime. You don't get out of the lesson.
Nope.
You don't get out of the lesson. What happens is the next time the lesson gets harder. So, but I did want to mention that that's where that energy stores. And that's the most common place where they're naturally guided. And it's because that's where that is what's impacting them. It's not stuff from this particular lifetime.
There you go.
Yeah.
So right where I think it's number 12.
There's the wrist.
Yep. And it
Wow.
shows past life trauma.
Wow. Jeez.
Yes, you can zoom in. Can you zoom in on that? Let's see here. Here.
Which number?
12.
Life struggle. Hang on, 22. Hang on, 22.
Oh.
Is it 22?
Yeah, I was gonna say the 22.
Is it? Yeah, it's 22. Childhood trauma with men, childhood trauma with women. So, and remember, energy stores in our myofascial tissue, which is our RNA and our DNA, and this is echo prints from our mothers that is passed along. Okay. So this stems over from previous lifetimes usually, and it's usually the energy. All right. And it probably carried over into this lifetime, just like my ailment did with my feet, with my mother, how I absorbed it, and the energy that my dad was cheating. So you see how we automatically attract things to heal. So we don't get out of our lessons. And I did just want to make note of that. So that's all I have. Let me go get my dogs real quick.
Yeah. Wow.
So jelly.
Wow. That was okay. Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
All right. How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm just living the dream.
Oh, well, I hear you. I'm having I got a whole bunch. I got a pallet of fresh strawberries I'm cutting up. I'm going to use in recipes. I got a whole pallet of strawberries for $8 organic.
Oh,
That's a good price.
Whole pound?
A whole pallet, 8 containers of them. You know, the little clamshells or whatever. 8 of those for $8.
Oh, nice.
I know. I don't want to talk about my strawberries though. We have much more important things to talk about.
vitamin C in that.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
strawberries. I mean,
Strawberries are awesome.
So- there's something I saw on this this diagram. I'm gonna pull it up. This diagram here. Oh my gosh, I feel like we should definitely touch on this. So spiritual abuse. Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Would anybody like to start that discussion right there? Spiritual abuse.
Mhm.
That was kind of what him and I were going through.
That goes into a lot.
More or less, my beliefs and of being with one person really kept me in a controlled, was easy for me to be controlled, essentially, because I was, my belief was, you get a divorce, you're going to hell. That was number one. I was going to hell. And I actually had one of my customers come in. She was a Jehovah's Witness and said I was going to hell. And I literally looked at her. I was like, look, my ex-husband was an alcoholic and he choked me out. And I saw stars and I hit him so that I lived because my daughter's in the next room. and I went to jail because I didn't speak out. And then he wound up beating his girlfriend's tail end a couple months later and went to jail for 6 months because I didn't do anything. But that's what you get. That's what I got by not listening to my guys and not by allowing my beliefs hinder my well-being. And I allowed physical abuse because that was normal, because that's how I grew up. And that was what I was raised, that, you know, it's unholy to get a divorce. So
I was raised the same way.
Yep. Yeah. And sticking up for myself that day, it wasn't a nice, polite way. Carolyn was a sweet lady, but I just told her, I was like, no one deserves to be treated like that, and I would have to disagree with your belief, ma'am. She kind of piped down. She absolutely did, actually. So, and that's my story, is just staying because you feel obligated because you have children, and that is your religious belief about relationships and thick and thin, not realizing thick and thin is growing together.
Yep.
So I missed that memo though. That was the program. That was the blip in the program. But all right, that's all I have.
Yeah, the religious trauma affects quite a bit of the population.
Yeah, well, and I'll be honest, it's the Libra Pluto generation, my generation, that well, it's our parents' generation, the Pluto Virgo, that started it, right? They're the ones that, you know, because my mom was the first generation that got a divorce, and then I got a divorce. But really, the Virgo Libra or the Pluto Libra, it's because we wanted balance. You know what I mean? Didn't care about the constructs anymore. It wasn't about what you did before us. It's about, is this working for me now? And it's our parents' unhappiness that allowed a lot of us to be open. And then now the younger generation. So it really did start with, you know, the Pluto Virgo generation, you know, dealing with their trauma being passed along to us. And it's not anything, there's nothing, you know, that's the cycle of it, but that's what we're all here to heal. And that's what we're seeing in the collective right now, is just these, you know, wounds that are being exponentiated through these eclipse seasons and this 0 degrees of Aries, because you can't take that energy with you. It's not allowed. And not only that, with the age of Aquarius, any element or dis-ease is speeded up. So your manifestation, you know, you can't think like that. You know, it's just not supported of where we're going. So.
That's right. And you know, there's something I'd like to add when it comes to spiritual abuse, and it's something I feel like really needs to be talked about. And it's, you know, people, figures that use the outer image of their practices or their spirituality to basically control others and use their force of, you know, like hypnotism, basically, that, oh, look at me, I do this practice, so therefore, since I do this practice, you know, that means I do the work, and that means I also have been changing my attitude patterns and my intentions and things like that. But it's not always the case. And I think it's something that everybody that is going to listen to this podcast one day should really consider when they're interacting with practitioners and other energy movers, because it's not always what it appears on the outside. And
Mhm.
It can come in many different ways. There can be unhealed traumas that leach into your energy. There can be intentions that could be miscued for their own purposes and agendas. And there can also just be, unconscious attachments and lingering energies. So, I want to bring this up for everybody out there because I find it important that everybody's aware of what they're consenting to and what kind of energy they're allowing into their field that's going to alter their whole entire, mind, body, soul complex.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are many cases of the predators who are offering healing disguised.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice, Luna. She says she's going to be talking about that tonight here in about 13 minutes. So yeah, we'll be closing out here in a few minutes. And wow, I mean, we were going to do the whiteboard maybe next time. We're really finding a good resource for it. But is there anything else that anybody would like to touch on before we close out tonight regarding any of this topic? It could be about like a boundary, a tool, a strategy, anything that you guys feel.
I think a good thing I would like to leave here with letting people know, once you start doubting your reality, you need to look at the one who you're with. The topic of abuse. If you're in a personal relationship with anyone, the second you start doubting your reality, yourself, you're probably being gaslit.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you can gaslight yourself if you're not careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They're like, oh, you was with a narcissist last time. Let's amp it up to a psychopath this time. Yeah.
And we'll keep attracting it until we heal it. And that's the
I
one
know
thing
it.
I want
Yep.
to leave in my note is you're going to keep attracting until you heal it. And sometimes
Yeah.
Absolutely.
within ourselves, it's either a lesson or a mirror projection of something that we have within us that we refuse to see.
Right.
Yep.
So, and there was a technique I wanted to give everyone, just because we were talking about PTSD and the parasympathetic system. So buzz breathing is a breath work technique that will get you out of the sympathetic system into, your fight or flight, into your rest and breath. And pretty much all you do is you put your pointer finger over towards your forehead, your index or your ring finger and your middle finger cover your eyes, and then your pinkies cover your chin. So you're connecting all of these points, and you're going to put your thumbs in your ear, and then you're going to take 4 breaths in, and you're going to hum. And what this is doing, okay, there's a dual effect to this, okay? So you're shutting off 2 of your senses. So you're allowing yourself to look inward. You're also activating your vagus nerve, which is allowing your channel to clear and make connection to your divine guidance. So 2 minutes of doing this will take you out of the anxiety or even potentially on the verge of a panic attack. You can literally change your energy and move into rest and breath within a couple of minutes. So that's all I wanted to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was laughing at Jen.
I was laughing at me too.
Oh, Jen. She's always geeking up there, man.
Just gotta laugh. It's good. It's so good.
She's been really in the, that Buddha laughing energy lately.
That's the best
Love
medicine,
it.
isn't it?
Yes, they say it's the greatest medicine, actually.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Laughter is the best
Very healing.
medicine.
Yes.
So I got this. I'm gonna pull this. Mhm. No doubt. Uh-oh. They feel low. There it is. Signs of gaslighting. For everybody, as we close out, I wanted to just let everybody out there see a few signs that you can look for when it comes to gaslighting. And typically your intuition tells you right away, but then, you deny it because of the gaslighting.
Yeah.
So these are just some scenarios that can manifest in your everyday life.
Cognitive dissonance is something that I don't think we really mentioned.
No.
There's so much more to this. I would like to continue this conversation if
Yeah,
you guys are up
sure.
for it sometime.
Right. Yeah.
Get a little
Same.
more detail.
Absolutely.
Being a parent, I
Yeah, I was gonna say,
experienced a lot of these for my child.
Well, and they,
And that's something that's serious too. It's
Yeah.
like we all accept that it's a parent-child relationship and it can get whatever, but it goes both ways, right? Parents can be abusive, but so can children. I think that I was a little ornery when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, and my kid's a little ornery too, and he displays some of these things, twists the story, plays the victim, So it's an interesting thing because it happens in more than just like it's a standard abusive relationship. You know what I mean? It's a low key abuse in a way. And it is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like talking back from a
Oh, yeah.
child. Wouldn't you consider that abuse to a parent after years and years of it, right? That,
It is a
in my
boundary.
opinion. Huh?
It is a boundary.
Yeah, like it's one that gets broken a lot. I mean, and it's common. Just the same thing goes for children whose parents used physical force on them as a child. It's accepted, like it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's not okay. It's like the same. There's many ways abuse can come out besides abuse, like a standard abusive relationship, in my opinion.
By the
I don't know.
government.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
the
we'll
government, there's another one too, but I mean,
So many ways.
We'll definitely make a part 2.
yeah, for sure.
And there'll
I'd
probably
be
a
really
part-
interested to learn some cues and some things I can do to not be triggered, as a parent.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I feel you.
Let's explore it together.
Mhm.
That'd be awesome.
So, when would be the next good day for all of you to be able to hop on this podcast again? You think?
Just let me know when.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I pretty much.
My week's different every week.
Yeah. My schedule's always different.
I was about to hit the Jeopardy music on you guys. You guys were like,
How do you do it? We'll take.
I'll take. I'm not
Three-
really sure for $300, Alex.
Yeah.
we did it, guys. Episode 1. Yeah.
Oh.
Sacred Kingdom in the house. Ah, man. With that being said, oh, my good sister Sydney said, please continue. So yeah, yep. We're definitely gonna keep it rolling.
Yep.
And everybody out there, I'll give a moment if you guys want to very shortly just kind of close out with how people can connect with you, and if you guys want to share your sites, feel free. And whoever would like to start.
Well, my site is in the process of completely changing, so I will be able to do that next time, hopefully.
Oh, nice. Upgrading.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can catch me at Heart Alchemy Wellness and Heather Lynn, or Heather L. Thomas. That's my personal one. It's where I do a lot of most of my work from. But yeah, you can catch me on Facebook, Instagram.
All right.
And I mean, I guess I could add in, if anybody listening here now or in the future needs a natural plant-based cleaning, they could always, in Phoenix metropolitan area, they could always get a hold of me on my website. And that would be tlc-cleaning-services.com.
You heard it first by the Sacred Kingdom.
Alex, I'll take 100.
Sarah also is a really good herbalist, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sarah, I might get with you. Sorry, Crystal. But Sarah, I might get with you to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I literally just said, just say it. That's it.
Okay. Oh, I was just saying, I'll get with you, Sarah. I would like to collaborate with you on some Ayurvedic herbal knowledge. So we'll collab on another note. So.
Yeah, that sounds awesome for sure. Definitely. I think we should try it. I don't know. Everything does seem different every week, but maybe if we picked a couple different time slots for the going forward in the future, discuss cool stuff like this, that'd be pretty awesome. You know.
All right, guys, we gotta close out so Allie can have her workshop.
All right,
okay.
All right.
It's been great.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All these beautiful souls. Hello. All right.
Wow, that was
Well, love
nice.
everybody. Catch us next week. We'll be live. We'll be doing this a lot, I'm sure. So, love you guys and take care. Have a good night.
Hey. Okay. The illest to be no ego, machismo with fuego, kundalini is my peril, saucy like queso. Watch me with a wrist, no watch, only crystal bracelets. Yeah, we stay lit. We woke. There's riches inside of me, I ain't going broke. Yeah, we stay lit. We woke. There's riches inside of me, I ain't going broke. They ain't ready for the truth. That's why they still praise the outer influences. Just brush off their intuition, never renovating the inside while